Shuma oije otwebembere eni tumanya guturia bana bawe ai mukama otwebembere. Thanks very much. Resume your seat. And Mr. President, I really want to thank you for your time. The talk must be alone the press, Mr. President, because if it was not so, it would have been wonderful to join the audience. Let me tell you, literally, who is who that you might have met on your growth curve is in the audience. This is a great audience. Those you might have grazed cows with are here. Eri Wakakoko, I saw him here. And those you might have gone to school with, the whole lot are here. Even those you might have gone to Mozambique in a military camp, they are here. Coretta is here. And even those that you met in Moshi, with Moshi spirit, Kabwejere, Professor Kabwejere and I, at least we are witnesses. Anyway, joking apart, this is a great meeting, and the audience, the quality of the audience is fantastic. And for those who organize this event, this is really the correct spirit of the late Mungonya, and we thank you very much indeed. Mr. President, yes, Mr. President, I was with you on your zonal tour of Munyoro, and for those who were not there, I think you are entitled to ask, what message do we bring back? What I saw in Bunyoro, Mr. President, is a wind of fundamental change blowing through the region. Yes, Bunyoro, oil was discovered in Bunyoro, and as a result, it required infrastructure development, including an airport. The roads are tarmacked, the airport is almost complete, and as an economic question, that stimulated a demand for an international stadium. Then the international stadium requires hotels and services. Then a university, public university. But the human spirit was incredible. One guy donated 100 acres of land for constructing a public university. 100 acres. Donated. Why I'm saying so, Mr. President, I sat for a week in Manafa negotiating 0.1 acres, 0.1 of an acre for a water reserve tank. Now here is a guy donating 100 acres. That human spirit of voluntarism. Anyway, I saw what you termed in the NRM 10-point program, an integrated, independent, and self-sustaining economy transformed from peasant to modern state. And if there is any doubt about the codified ideology of development work, recently termed Musevenomics. Musevenomics is working, is really working. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you so much. What is being done is irreversible. Uganda is becoming a middle-income country under your leadership. We can't thank you enough. Mr. President, the family of Mungonya chose me to give a citation in honor of Z.C.K. Owek during the launch of his book, Enduring Legacy of Z.C.K. Mungonya, biography. And it is written, and I will summarize it briefly, but before I do that, I think the reason why I'm humbled by the family choosing me from among so many valued friends of the family to give a citation. It is because I was also inspired by Mungonya. Let me just give a personal testimony, friends. By the time I went to school in 1954, Mungonya had been Pochino of Igara, that is being a Sasa chief, and he had been Nganzi of Ankole, and his name was a household name in our village. But when I went to school, it was common, it has been referred to today, but in school it was dramatic. We all wanted to be like Mungonya when it came to mathematics, because, look, they would tell you, Mungonya would sit under a tree and will tell you the number of leaves in the tree. He would sit down at night and he will tell you the number of stars in the skies. And if it was raining like it has been raining, he would tell you the droplets of the rain. And if you have been drying millet, finger millet, on the ground, he can tell you the grains of the millet. And he would come late in exam, 5 minutes to the end, but he would emerge the top in the class. Everybody in our class really wanted to be like Mungonya. Mungonya was, his brilliance was legendary. Up to today, I was being referred to. I was inspired. I was one of the students inspired by Mungonya in this case. I did. Then, more, in 1957, Mungonya came with C.B. Katiti on a campaign to popularize the titling, getting land titles. And my father was one of the first people to get a land title for free. Now, Mr. President, in 1979, when we returned from exile, I got an allocation of a car. Then I went to UCB, and Richard Kijuka was there, as chairman, managing director. I said, I have got an allocation, I want money to pay. And Kijuka said, I cannot give you money unless you bring a collateral, and it must be immovable. I didn't have anything. But I went and got my father's title, brought it to Kaijuka, and he gave me money to buy a car. I was the first beneficiary of Mungonya's reforms in the land titles. Friends, what more can I say? Mungonya was a great, fantastic legacy. Now, allow me, Mr. President, now, having given this testimony, to give a citation for the book you are going to launch today. Z.C.K. Mungonya was a great and a loved statesman, notable for being the first elected Nganzi of Ankole and the first appointed African minister in the colonial administration. That was not a mean achievement, I can tell you. He made significant contributions to the socio-economic development of Uganda in both pre-independence and post-independence periods. And this was exemplified by his transformative leadership style, strong commitment to education, and empowering force, especially for young people. Pioneering and promoting land tenure reforms for the benefit of all. Hard work, integrity, and discipline. Unwavering and wholehearted support to the development of the church and his motherland, Uganda. He had a very generous spirit for worthy causes. These, among many of his other unique attributes, contributed to his enduring legacy that we are talking about today. Z. Mungonya. Mungonya raises a number of questions. The questions and curiosity The questions are, who is this man, Mungonya? How was he brought up? And by the time he departed, what had he contributed to the development of Uganda that is enduring? The book you are going to be launching today provides full answers to these questions. I will only give a synopsis. His early life. Z.C. Mungonya was born in 1901 at Nshozi village, Rubindi, sub-county, in the present-day Kashari County, Nankole sub-region. This was the period during which tributary states of Ankole Kingdom were amalgamated under British colonial administration to form Ankole Kingdom. His father was Ras Sirtaba, who belonged to the Wasingo sub-clan of the Bagahe main clan of Ankole. Not much is known about Mungonya's mother, as she unfortunately died when Mungonya was still an infant. Mungonya was therefore raised by Nerinda Mukenshaho, who was his paternal aunt. Mukenshaho was very religious and effectively played the role of parenting the young Mungonya. She unreservedly loved Mungonya. She raised Mungonya in a Christian environment. He rose through the ranks of chief clerk at Kamukuzi, Kamukuzi was the seat of kingdom government. He became a treasurer, a county chief of various counties. I have mentioned was Pochino in Igara. Then he became Chimba, head of Ankole Kingdom administration, and ultimately he was elected to the post of Enganzi, or Prime Minister of Ankole Kingdom, in 1948. This was the highest executive position in the kingdom, and Mungonya was the first to attain the position through an election. During his service in the kingdom government, his leadership skills helped in minimizing eruption of violent contestations in communities to the time, particularly those arising from frictions between pastoralists and farmers over land use. His service in the kingdom exposed him to the complexities of land ownership, which later enabled him to promote land tenure reforms, even when he faced hostilities in some parts of the protectorate. His service in the central protected government was outstanding. Mungonya was the first native African to be appointed minister in the protectorate government in 1955. The British found him to be a native, as they used to call us, a native of good character, a native of integrity, a native of competence and rare intelligence, suitable for incorporation in the institution of government, and was groomed to acquire skills in the public administration and managing modern state affairs. He was later joined by two other eminent Africans, Yusuf Rule, who would eventually become the president of this republic, and Apollo Chironde. Then he was appointed Minister of Lands and Mineral Development, responsible for spearheading implementation of land reform policies and enactment of new laws on land matters. This involved sensitizing people about the socio-economic benefits of acquiring individual land titles in order to access support from financial institutions and to lessen conflicts often associated with communal use of land. His efforts popularized land tenure reform proposals and acquisition of land titles in many parts of the country. It wasn't easy for us who witnessed it. It wasn't easy. The title, even up today, this is an unsettled issue. Mungonya was a pioneering man. Mungonya formerly retired from public service in 1961, but considering his exemplary performance in the various public offices he held and his knowledge and expertise, he continued to be called upon to get involved in directing affairs of newly independent nation Uganda. He was requested to serve, as has already been mentioned during the panel, in various institutions and assignments. He was a member of Uganda Education Commission, which investigated the education sector in 1963. He was involved in establishing Ginger Steel Rolling Mill project. He chaired the Uganda Radio Advisory Council, Uganda Tea Growers Corporation, Audric Wabogo, you mentioned it. The Ankole Kingdom Land Board, he did. Ankole Direct Cooperative Society, he did. He was also a member on several college and school boards of governors, including our own board, Ntare School. His contribution, very outstanding. Now, his contribution in the church. Mungonya was a staunch Christian, and his Christian faith characterized his life. He had a strong connection with the Church of Uganda throughout his life. He advocated the integration of Christian values into national development and supported many church-led initiatives in education, in health, and community development. He took bold steps and generously contributed toward the construction and establishment of churches. I can single out the following as the legacy that impacted on our lives. Number one, Mungonya's legacy is multifaceted, with his contribution to land reforms, Christian leadership, and national governance. These are still resonating in our time. His tenure as Uganda's first Minister of Lands and Mineral Development laid groundwork for the management of one of the country's most important resources. He influenced future generation approach to land reforms and land rights. In the Church of Uganda, Mungonya's advocacy for integrating faith with public service and leadership has continued to be an inspiration and has inspired leaders who seek public glories as an extension of Christian values to serve fellow human beings. This is Z.C.K. His dedication to moral leadership and service to community set a precedent for the involvement of church leaders in national development, particularly in education and social welfare. Mungonya was a consensus builder. It has been mentioned, and I can add, Mungonya is credited for saving Ankole from taking a route similar to Rwanda of genocide. And his commitment to justice, to equity, and Christian values in governance was helpful and has left a lasting mark on Uganda's political and social fabric. His work in land reform and leadership bridged the gap between Uganda's colonial past and its post-independence future, thus contributing to the nation's development while championing the principles of fairness, of integrity, and service. Mungonya was a pioneer and a visionary, not only in government, but also in the moral and spiritual leadership that helped shape Uganda's identity as a newly independent state whose motto is "For God and my country." His contribution to both the political and religious spheres underscore his lasting influence on the country's trajectory. Bishop Stewart University Library It is named after Z.C.K. Mungonya. The primary and senior secondary school you have witnessed, Mungonya Secondary School, are all named in memory of Mungonya's enduring legacy and contributions that continue to inspire generations. The late C.K. Mungonya is with his creator, but his ideas and legacy will live forever, touching and transforming lives of so many. I thank you very much for listening to me. That's the conclusion of the citation of the enduring legacy of Z.C.K. Mungonya, and his book will be launched by His Excellency the President. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you, Professor, for those very enlightening words, the citation of who the late Z.C.K. Mungonya is. So we are really, I thank you all for your patience. You have braved the rain and the sun, and now we have clear weather. I will now ask Honorable Jim Muhwezi to come and invite the President to make his remarks. He's launching the book.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Mungonya family, Your Lordship, the Bishop, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. In the interest of time, I want straight away to invite His Excellency the President to give his remarks to the audience and later launch the book. Your Excellency the President.
The Honorable Ministers, the Mungonya family, the bishops, and all the invited people. I'm very happy with the people who wrote this book. It is useful for the country to capture the record of all these outstanding contributors to Uganda's history at different times. So I want to thank Gwenny for leading this effort. I don't know whether you are as informed as I am about the word Mungonya. Did they tell you what it means? Or was it discussed in the book? Now, Mungonya would have been named after Abangonya. Do you know that? Abangonya, just before the Europeans started coming here, the Banyankore started buying guns from the Arabs. So the Banyankore actually had firearms before the Europeans came. And even the Baganda. Now there were some Baganda mercenaries with guns. These were called the Mungonya. Did you know that, you people? Is it mentioned in the book? Now, the Mungonya were the Baganda mercenaries, a regiment of them, armed with guns. Now, the Ankole king, Ntare V, Rijingiza, there was a rinderpest which killed cows in this part of the world in 1893. Big rinderpest. My great-grandfather, Kashanku, managed to save only 7 cows from that rinderpest. And many of the cows I have now are from those 7. Now, when there was the rinderpest, the king of Nkore, Ntare, hired these Baganda mercenaries, the Abangonya, to invade Rwanda and raid the capital of Rwabugiri, the king of Rwanda. Now, the king of Rwanda, Rwabugiri, counter-raided and came to Ankole, and there were big fights between the Banyankole and the Banyarwanda in 1895. So I thought you should capture that. The name Mungonya must have been from the Abangonya. Now, those cows which were raided from Rwanda were called Emirundi Yabangonya. Emirundi. You know what Emirundi is? You.com people. Emirundi. What is Emirundi? Emirundi means the front part of the leg. So this was like metaphoric. Those cows which were raided from Rwanda were a product of the work of the Bangonya. That's what it means. It was just metaphoric. Emirundi Bangonya. So when Rwabugiri counter-raided, he wanted to recapture those cows but also raid new ones, but he didn't succeed. There was a big fight at that time. So that is I suspect that is the origin of that name, Mungonya. It is from the Abangonya. I was lucky to meet Mzee Mungonya in 1979. Of course, I had known about him, but as a young person. But this time, when we captured Mbarara on the 28th of February 1979, after some days, a man called Ireta, I think some of you know Ireta. Ireta was the son of Garvungo. He came to my command post in Kamukuzi and said, Mzee Mungonya wanted to see me. So I went and I saw him with his wife. She was still alive. They were all there. I met them. Now, the man called Rukade, the Olympics man, said that I gave him beef. When did you get the beef? Was it that time or when? The beef, the beef you are talking about, when was it? When I visited Mzee Mungonya or another time? Huh? Makerere. Oh, okay. So I had a discussion with him. He was asking me about the war, and I met him. And I think he died soon after that. Did he die in 1980 or something? He died when?
1981.
Oh, okay, 81. Now, in the meantime, from 1959, I was studying in Mbara High School, so I was following what Omukuru Gweni was doing at the girls' school there. You know, the children can see you when you don't see them. So Omukuru Gweni, among the young people who were spying on you at Chendugu, that girls' school was called Chendugu. Among the young people who were spying on you, one of them is president of Uganda now. So we were young people there at Mbara High School, but Gwene was already a teacher. She was already teaching at the nearby girls' school. She was there with Zelda Rabsiagara. Then later on, Kasabiti, the one who is married to Rutega now, came there as a temporary teacher. We were following them. We know the children follow all those people. So, Mama, when I was spying on you, when I was at Mbara High School. Now, you know, Banyankore are a very tough group. Those who don't know, who don't know should know. Those Banyankore, Bahororo, are not easy people. They are very difficult. Therefore, when the Europeans came, we split into like two groups. There were some groups who joined the new system, the Christian system, and the education. Like you have heard the book of Mzee Mungonya, which Professor Kamuntu summarized. And I think it was. Then there are others who refused, other families who refused to join the new system. They were actually like despising it, despising the new system as if they were calling it Okimbagira. To get disoriented, why do you join those systems? Now, I think it was good luck that we had the two groups, the rejectors and the ones who joined. My family were among the rejectors. They didn't accept. My great-grandfather was alive. He died in Masabina around 1915. He never joined the church. My grandfathers, they died, I think the last one would have died around 1944. They refused to join the church. It was my father, Amos Kaguta, and my mother, Esther Kukundeka, who joined the church in 1947. You can see when Mungonya was becoming Prime Minister of Ankole in the new system, that was the first time the third generation of the Kagutas started joining the new system. And it was really, I think, maybe God who arranged that. Because we ended up having a stronger society. Those Banyankore are a very strong society, those who don't know. Why? Because the Abashomi, actually that's what they were called, Abashomi, Abashoma, the ones who went to the new system, brought new information and new techniques. Literacy, religion, a bit of science, and a bit of modern wealth creation. Now, the ones who stayed in Obkafiri, that's what they were calling us, that were Abakafiri. The ones who stayed in Obkafiri were nearby, but not joining. But they were tough. You know, those people are very tough. Very tough, because the traditional life was very tough. It was like military. Now, when eventually the two groups linked up, because you hear my family first joined the church in 1947. First, my sister, Dr. Kajubiri, who was born in 1949, Kajubiri, that's why she's called that name, Kajubiri, the one of the Jubilee. That was because in 1949, Ankole was celebrating the Jubilee of the church in Ankole, which had come there 1899. But we, the Kagutas, had only joined the church 2 years before. The other people were celebrating Jubilee. For us, we were just joining. But in that staying outside, we had a tough training. Now, when, like in my case, when we joined the church, 1952, I went to school. I was the first one in my whole family, my whole clan, actually. Then I got to know both. I knew the traditional because I was qualified in the traditional. Everything, fighting, cows, crops, the traditional way. Then I got to know this new system, the educational, the new one. So when you hear that the NRM, the resistance movement, it's actually a mixture of that. The new supported by the old. So like in 1966, when Obote abrogated the constitution, we were at Ntare in the dormitory. And we almost had a fight with the boys there, the UPC boys. And we said, how can Obote abolish our constitution? How can Obote, the son of Opeto, abolish our constitution? Then the UPC boys said, what will you do? What shall we do? They thought it was a joke. The following day, I went with two other boys to Kahigiriza, who was our Nganzi that time. So we want to fight Obote. It is Kahigiriza actually who persuaded us to go back to school and understand the situation more. And eventually, when we went to Dar es Salaam, we were not going to Dar es Salaam to just study, because there was a university here. Why go to Dar es Salaam? There was a university here at Makerere. It is because we wanted because we had read in the papers that Africans were fighting the Europeans in Southern Africa, in Mozambique, in Angola, in South Africa. So we said, if Africans can fight Europeans, who is this Obote? Let's go and study how to fight. That's why we went to Dar es Salaam, all of us, Kategaya, myself. We were not going to study because there was a university here. Why go to Dar es Salaam? Because we wanted to study how to fight. So therefore, I think it is God who arranged this, that some of the people went to that, because the traditional system was actually very strong. The only thing they lacked was some additional information about science and technology and literacy. So therefore, I really praise God for the people like Mungonya, who pioneered that education, because I think if they had not gone ahead, because of the arrogance of the Banyankore, you know, they are very arrogant people, we may have ended up like the Karamojong, because the Karamojong up to today, they have been out. But when the Mungonyas joined, although many of us many actually stayed out, eventually they pulled us. They pulled us by example to join. And when we joined the new system, we had the advantage of both the toughness of traditional and now the new knowledge of the new knowledge. So I really praise God for these people who joined early, who joined the new system early. It helped us to, because we eventually linked up the two groups, the resistors and the transformers were able to link up, and that's why Ankole is a little bit is moving forward. Now, regarding Mzee Mungonya himself, brilliance, the brilliance they are talking about, the common talk was, no shomere varhom bahasan ka Mungonya, no shomere varhom bahasa ka Mungonya, that Mungonya could read a letter even when it was still in the envelope. He could know what was in the letter even before opening the envelope. This is how the peasants exaggerate when they are supporting something. They lionize somebody they appreciate. You must have heard them saying that Museveni would turn into a cat, would turn into a dog. This is their psychological support to exaggerate a bit, but something they like, something they approve of. So that brilliance was very much talked about. Would pick it up. That Mungonya read a letter before it was opened, knew what was in the letter. But in terms of contribution, apart from the example of modern education, the other big issue was on the land policy. That one is no doubt. It was very controversial. One of the parties, of the political parties, DP, was campaigning land titles, Ebiapa. 1955, 56, you would hear scary stories in the villages. Mungonya has a quittency. Mungonya has a quittency. Mungonya is about to bring catastrophe in the world, in Uganda. Ngu koro kuza kushenya omwitaka ly'omuntu nibakukwata. You know, those simple and cheap the campaigning, that if you, because you know the Banyankwera had a communal system, you could go and graze everywhere except very near the home. You wouldn't go in a shambu or a chanya chenyana where the cows graze. Otherwise, the land was communal. So this idea that you would have a land title for your piece of land was very much resisted, especially by the DP party, which was campaigning the land titles. So I remember 1957 or 1958, when Mungonya, it must have been Mungonya, I read it. We had a newspaper called Wamanya. Wamanya, have you known? That was where we used to get information. Wamanya printed a picture of, it must have been Mungonya, and maybe Nganwa, coming to Kagango. Kagango is a sub-county of, one of the sub-counties of Shema, where they gave out 50 land titles. I even remember the number. Big controversy among those who are against. But by the time I was at, we had finished in Tare, 1966, I was the one leading the fight for the land titles in the Nyabushozi area, because we could see that those who got land titles managed the land better than the ones who did not get the land titles. So there's no doubt that here Mungonya was more or less a heroic pioneer of this policy, because it was controversial among the cheap populists, those who wanted to, who are also uninformed, I think. Because even now, in some of the areas of Uganda, you still get the same problem. Like in the north, it is still, that issue is not resolved. Do you have somebody from Machori here? Anybody from Machori here? Who are you?
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Akulu Grace Regina. I come from Lamour district.
Lamour?
Yes, Your
Excellency. How is the issue of the land there?
Of late, we had the community around Palabek complain about the entry of Balalo with about 760 herds of cattle. That is the current situation in Lamour. Yes, that's the truth.
But among the, I'm defending the authorities against the Balaro, those Balaro are indisciplined. But among the authorities themselves, the individual land ownership and clan land, and can you comment on that?
Yes, Your Excellency, it's true that even internally there are land conflicts within different clans. This came as a result of the 20 years of conflict in northern Uganda. You remember, Your Excellency, people got displaced in the...
When I am married to my wife and I go to heaven and I die, does my wife inherit the land or the clan takes it back?
The clan takes it back, Your Excellency.
Now, you can imagine up to now, Apoyo Beping, Apoyo.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Up to now, when you die and you leave your widow, the clan chase the widow and take the land. It's clan land. Up to now. So you can see that if you take 1957, when Mungonya was pushing this policy, Ankole now is 70 years ahead of some other parts of Uganda. Yeah. So definitely, I salute his. These chiefs, even in the book I saw a picture that I didn't read it. They used to go on study tours to UK, to England. I think some of them who were clever, when they went there, they would have learned something from Europe and try to bring it here. So on the land issue, the area of Ankole and maybe Kigezi and some parts of Buganda have definitely benefited from Mungonya's pioneering work, and we should salute him. And you, the Bazukuru, should capture this and share it with your colleagues from the north, because in the north it is still a big problem, still a big issue. Now, finally, you heard about Mungonya as an entrepreneur. But an entrepreneur who knew the country well, because he knew where Omcheno was. You know Omcheno, you people, you .com. What is Omcheno? .com. Tell me what Omcheno is. Who can tell me? Omcheno, not Omcheno. Do you have any volunteers among the .com? How about the non-.com, the older ones? Who knows what Omcheno is? Who can tell us? Volunteer, come to the microphone and help us. Omcheno. There's one volunteer there. Introduce yourself so that we know your credentials.
Your Excellency, sir, I'm Gara Livingston, Chairman PTA Mungonya Secondary School. I'm a teacher by training. According to me, Omcheno means lacking something.
Yes.
When you are in lack of something.
Lacking something.
Thank you.
That is solvable. Is Omcheno. So you can hear, I had actually not thought much about it, but now that you are talking about it, I've now seen how Mzee Mungonya would have helped me to get to Rwakitura, where I am now. Because I bought that land in Rwakitura in 1967. That's how I was able to settle my father, who was a nomad, to settle him, and he stays in one place. But the only communication, and Rushere is 57 miles from Mbarara, Rwakitura is another 7 miles from Rushere, that's 64 miles. Now, the only link between Chinoni, which is beyond Rwakitura, was Mungonya, the bus of Mungonya. I don't remember who the driver was, But I remember the conductor was a Mtoro boy called Chisembo. Now, that was the only bus in that area. So, all those times when I was going to look for the land, going to university, coming back, it was that Mungonya's bus, which he had introduced some years before. And then he had also a bus to Burunga, to Kabogore. So you can see, there was a Muganda man called Eliabu Mukasa, who had a bus going to Kabera in Shema. Bus Eliabu Mukasa was there below where Kamukuzi is. So that bus was going that side. And then you had a bus by Siaro Chiemba, which was going to Rugaga, to Isinjiro, to Bukanga. Now the UTC buses were going to Kabare, to Fort Portal, but the one going to Kamwenje was UTC, but driven by Kamakuje. Kamakuje was he not Mungonya's son? How was Kamakuje connected to Mungonya? Huh? Kamakuje.
Kamakuje was, from what I've been told, was his nephew.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But Kamakuje was driving the UTC bus. I think Kamwenje was not Mungonya's bus. It was UTC. You know, here you have got a free consultant about that time. I can give you all the information. So Mungonya's buses were going to Burunga, where I went to teach in 1967 when I taught these Eric Muinez, Enos Tumsime, who was connecting us, Mungonya, with his bus to Kabogore and then to Kinoni. These are the two I remember. So you wonder, you could see that it was a Munyankore who was knowledgeable about our situations, that would have, yes, been an entrepreneur, but take his enterprise where there was acute need. This was, so you people, this is something else you should learn from people like Mungonya. Banyankole say, gata gata mnonga tugebushe mbeho. The water is boiled and it becomes hot, but in the end it becomes cold again. So don't be too advanced to forget where you came from. That you are modern, you are going to space, and you forget Rwachtura, you forget. So you can see Mungonya would have been, those people who wouldn't know about Chinoni, Kabogore, those remote places, they wouldn't know. But Mungonya knew. And I don't know what happened to that company it was maybe by the time we came back, when we came back from Tanzania. So therefore, in conclusion, I'm very happy that Gweni and her group were able to capture the big story of Mzee Mungonya. Because without capturing these stories, you are going to have a gap in the knowledge of our country. So Mungonya was a pioneer for education, no doubt about it, was a leader for the land reform. I would say he was the leader, because we came to support him afterwards. But he was the one who started it. All the other people were talking about other things. Nobody was clear about that issue. It was Mungonya. Private land ownership is a better stimulus for socio-economic transformation. It was him, he's the one who led us, who led Uganda. And finally, an entrepreneur, but who had deep social understanding of the country. So, in support of this effort, I will buy 2,000 copies to give to some institutions, the army, the schools, and so on. How much is each book?
Each copy is 50,000 shillings.
So 2,000 is how many shillings? Calculator.
2,000 copies, Mzee, will be 100 million shillings.
Is how much?
100 million shillings.
2,000.
2,000 copies.
I buy 4,000.
Thank you, Mzee.
Thank you. God bless you.
Asante. A round of applause. And now he's going to officially launch the book. I request the following family members to accompany Mzee for that launch and signing of the portrait. Mrs. Gwenny Rukare, Mrs. Dora Rukare Semambo, Mrs. Joy Twahirwa, Mr. David Twahirwa, Dr. William Nganwa, Jack Amanya, representing the family of the late Myers Mugara, Caro Mugasha, representing the family of the late James Mugasha, Alan Asimwe, representing the family of the late Francis Mungonya, Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, and Mr. Isaac Matovu, representing Podi Matovu, to sign the portrait. We will also have family portrait pictures with His Excellency. So those of you that are already there, I think they're arranging a place next to His Excellency's tent for family portrait pictures. Please, the Mungonya family, remain and go and take pictures. Dr. Donald Rukare, Mrs. Jackie Rukare, Mr. David Rukare, if you're here, Mrs. Dora Semambo, Mr. Dunstan Rukare, Mrs. Doreen Rukare, Mrs. Martha Rukare, Enoch and Eli Rukare, the family of the late James Mugasha, Dr. Christine Mugasha Gahire, Alan Gahire, Annabelle, Zachariah Atwine, Muzora, Jamie Anguma, Mrs. Carol Mugasha Katumba, Mr. Mark Katumba, Miss Gemma Katumba, the family of Mrs. Joy Mungonya Twahirwa, that's Mr. David Twahirwa, Mrs. Joy Twahirwa, Julius, Diana, Annette, Annalisa, Emma Mundong, John Fred Kanje, Joel Kandiho, and the family of the late Myers Mugarra, Mrs. Jane Mugarra, Miss Laura Rukundo, Mr. Jack Amanya, the family of the late Francis Mungonya, Alan Asimwe, Barbara Asimwe, Aviana, Alvin, Charity Namara, Ivan Muhwezi, and Anthony Mwine. Those will be the people that are taking the family portraits right after that signing. Distinguished guests, we have sold out the books that we came with, but if you would like a copy of the book, kindly just come to this table here, register with us, and we shall deliver a book to you. Just give us your number, we shall deliver a book to you at our own cost. For those that are still interested in a copy of this book, kindly come to this tent and register with us, and we will deliver a copy of this book to your address, preferred address.
Will they be in the bookshop?
Yes, the book will also be available. It is going to be made available in a restock, where we will make it available for purchase.
Registered ground